Hi everyone, this is Molly McCord. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. We're going to talk about the Taurus Full Moon that's happening on November 12th, 2019 at 8:34 Eastern Standard Time. Be sure and adjust for your location on the planet. So this full moon is quite lovely. It has some supportive energies. There is a lot of supportive energies throughout November. Even though we do have Mercury retrograde, there are other energies that are syncing up and coming together. And so there is something here in this month that you're meant to figure out and arrive at a new understanding of what you want. So let's talk about that. So we have the sun at 19 degrees of Scorpio, 51 minutes. So we round up to 20 degrees. And the moon at 19 degrees of Taurus, 51 minutes. We round up to 20 degrees. Once a month or so, these two are in opposite points of the astrological calendar, astrological sky, and the moon is at its fullest. It is bright, it is beautiful, it is illuminating, and it's bringing awareness to what you want right now, which is the energy of Taurus, what you buy, what you invest in, what you accumulate, what you own. And this is meant to be a grounding, practical energy that offsets the deeper emotions and the deeper world of Scorpio. Now, Scorpio is what's undercover, what's hidden. We might not see it, but we feel it. Our intuition comes alive and we sense something in a different way. So if you think of Scorpio as being the underworld, what is in the dark, what is not quite clear, but we know it's there, the hidden magic, if you will. Taurus is what's above the ground. It's what we see. It's the 5 human senses. So we have this interesting interaction between our humanness, our human needs, even basic survival in Taurus, how we take care of ourselves on a daily basis, which is the moon, and what we are developing that means something to us. And that is being opposed by the sun and Mercury in Scorpio, in the underworld, in the cave, going through some deeper energies, some deeper programming that we don't always see, but we know is there. Scorpio is where we operate in our unconscious. For example, it's where you have an unconscious fear that you didn't know was driving you or perhaps even blocking you. Now, this Mercury at 17 degrees of Scorpio retrograde is going to travel back to 11 degrees until November 20th, 21st. But just before this full moon, Mercury was exactly conjunct the sun, and this meant that there was an information exchange. Mercury's the messenger and received a huge blast of light energy from the sun that he's now assimilating. There is a reprogramming here, and it's coming in through our mind, the mental capabilities, which is Mercury the messenger. We're taking in deeper understandings around the Scorpio themes of power, fear, emotional drive, intensity, passion, strategizing, even some very deep soul healing. So you get pulled into the undertow of Scorpio, and the full moon says, come back up to the earth, eat a good meal, take a nap, take a break. Balance your energy here, because you could feel that there's a lot happening in your mind, even in your emotional body. There's a lot even shifting in our auras with this Scorpio clearing and cleansing. So this is a full moon where there's a lot happening under the surface, and come back and check in with yourself. Balance your energy field and look at where you're at realistically and what you need to do right now that grounds you, that centers you, that puts you in this timeline, this place on the planet, and returns you to your body. All of the earth signs will return us to our body and our physical lives. Now, this moon is receiving wonderful support from both Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn. So there's these trines here to the moon and sextile to both the sun and Mercury. This is where you want to go for the long term. This is commitments. This is what you know, what you've learned, what you've mastered. And this energy is supporting the moon, who is here to, again, fortify us. This is a fortification energy around what you've learned, especially since these two planets were retrograde earlier in 2019. And the new understandings that the Mercury retrograde is arriving at. Now, you could also feel that you're split between your mind and your heart, your emotional world, and what you're thinking. So there's a need here to actually pay attention to the moon, because the full moon is strong. And it's bringing up something that you wouldn't normally see in the underworld, in the darker places that have messages for us. And the darkness is not meant to be a negative thing or a bad thing. It's just what's hidden and what you're discovering. Scorpio is a discovery process. We discover something new that we didn't see before. So there's a discovery process, and this is sort of like taking a break and just breathing deeply and coming back to the moment, grounding yourself, and looking at your commitments to the long term. It's very supportive for checking in with where you're going. There's a strategy energy here. The strategizing is from both the Capricorn and the Scorpio energies. Strategizing for the long term, making a plan, understanding what you want now and what you're doing to take steps to go in that direction, to make an internal commitment to yourself. Now, some other great energies are happening here in this chart. As this Mercury voyages back to 11 degrees, this Mercury is going to make another trine to the North Node at 10 degrees of Cancer. And this is going to support the sense of what's true for you in your gut, instinctually, what you're trusting and learning about yourself that maybe you have not connected with in many years. There's something that's coming up that you're meant to love and accept about yourself, and it can feel tender, it can feel vulnerable, but there's something about this chart that's strongly activating feminine energies. Okay, so that's kind of this overall theme, is all these feminine energies with not only this Cancer North Node, the Taurus, the Capricorn, and Scorpio energies, all in feminine signs. Then we also have down here Neptune, 15 degrees of Pisces retrograde, strong feminine intuitive energy. You can see that also this Mercury is making a trine to the Neptune and Pisces. And then Neptune and Pisces is also making, I'm going to call it a sextile. It was actually a stronger sextile November 11th. Because when the moon is connecting with an outer planet, we typically have a smaller orb of, say, 2 to 3 degrees. That's typically the case for the outer planets because they move so slowly. But I'm going to consider it in play here because of all the connections that are happening. So this Neptune energy is helping us allow the changes to occur, the continual surrender, being above one's ego, being detached as necessary. And then the other strong energy in this chart is that the moon in Taurus is ruled by Venus because Venus rules Taurus. So then we look to Venus for what's happening in her energy. And this Venus is now at 13 degrees of Sagittarius. And this is where she is ready to learn, to seek, to explore, to have an adventure. She becomes wiser. She believes in herself. There's a strengthening to her energy. She can be quite exciting. Venus in Sagittarius is looking for a bigger understanding of the world, what she believes in, what excites her, inspires her, very optimistic and positive, can be a little bit Pollyanna. She can also have some big expectations, but she just wants to live a really good life. I mean, this is a very excited Venus. But what's happening with her is that she is actually approaching the square to Neptune, where she doesn't always know what she wants. Because as a planet squares Neptune, things get confused or foggy and fuzzy. And because Venus is the energy of what you receive, there could be a sense of, well, I'm figuring it out. I'm just figuring out what I want. After Venus does the square to Neptune, when she gets to 15, she'll get to 15 degrees of Sagittarius. Then she's going to move into some really awesome territory in 10 days. In 10 days, Venus is going to go over the galactic center and then conjunct Jupiter. It's going to be an awesome energy. I'm going to have a separate video for you all about that. But she's trusting herself, big trusting here, that she could have a bigger dream. And that bigger dream gets clearer later in November. So November has this really special energy to it that is very much about our feminine energies. And it's reminding you to love yourself, accept yourself, believe in a bigger possibility. And this full moon is asking you to ground yourself in a solid sense of self-love, of, yes, I can have what I want. And I'm not going to spend too much of my energy in other people's stuff. Because one of the lower expressions of Scorpio is that Scorpio is about other people and what we absorb from them emotionally, energetically, psychologically, financially, and so on. So we always learn something new about how we're interacting with others in Scorpio, but you're looking at it in a new way, and have support for what you want. And it really gets strong during this 11/11 portal on November 11th, right before the full moon. There's a deep activation from the cosmos that is reminding you about the unlimited potentials of the universe. That there's unlimited ways to create, to manifest, to have what you want, for a dream to come true, for possibilities to line up. But are you blocking yourself in your mind? Because that's where how we think sends messages throughout our whole body and throughout our whole energy field. And so this Mercury retrograde is asking you to look at where you've blocked yourself, where you've absorbed fears that aren't your own, and to transform them, to allow them to become something powerful that now motivates you, that shifts you into a higher gear. And I feel like when Mercury stations direct November 20th, 21st, there's a big energy shift the last 10 days of November that literally shifts you into a higher gear. And it could be you've been in second gear and now you're into fourth, or you're moving into fifth gear. There's something that's shifting here that's going to be driving us forward. And that will also show up as this Mars will enter Scorpio as well. And Mars in Scorpio is quite strong and quite dynamic. And then Mars comes through and he's going to make a trine to the North Node, and he's going to trine up with Neptune. So there's a preparation energy here that you're ready for what you really want. And are you in alignment with it? Have you made these commitments? As I say this, I'm seeing the image of writing out a new soul contract between you and your soul, between you and God, Source, the universe, Spirit, that declares a declaration of what you are releasing big releasing energy here at the full moon and with this Mercury retrograde, especially conjunct the sun. And then it's also claiming and calling in what you want to replace the energy with. So it was previously a fear or a limitation, and now you're declaring, this is how I want it to show up because I know I'm worthy, I deserve it. I love myself, and I understand that this is an abundant universe that can create anything in multiple ways. So get out of your gosh darn head and look at what is possible in a bigger scale. And I think one of the most important things to do is to make some commitments to yourself for the long term. I'm just feeling like what you commit to and what you let go of is really important right now. Because 2020 is on our doorstep, and we know those energies are powerful in January. But even in December is when eclipse season begins. December 26th, 25th, 26th is the first of our next eclipses. So there's a switching here. Wow. Okay, now I'm feeling it as timeline changes, as in you're done with something and you know it. You so know it, and now you're claiming what's going to replace that energy, and it's going deep into your energy field when you claim it. I mean, this connection of the moon to Pluto, huge place of a commitment. And it feels like you're stepping into a sense of power that you know you've had, and now you're ready to make it real. Make it real. So make the most of November, my friends. I have other videos for you about these energies. It's a really important month because of how supportive the energies are to where we're going in 2020. And if you haven't heard by now, I have a whole webinar for you about the major astrology of 2020, the whole year. And you can come back and access the webinar throughout the year. You bring your natal astrology chart and you look at what's happening for you throughout 2020, because I want to support as many people as possible being in their power, being in their choices, and knowing how your soul is ready to evolve and transform in the next decade. It has the most powerful astrology. I mean, it's amazing. And I know that many astrologers are talking about it because it's so significant. So check out the details about that webinar, and you can get it for $22 if you use the code POWERFUL at checkout. So we are in a very important time where your intentions and your energies are key. And just know that it's time to let go of what's been limiting you and holding you back that could be mirrored to you through other people, but you need to claim this powerfully in yourself and claim your own responsibility with it. And then you need to look at what you're ready to declare next. And by the way, you would be looking also at where 20 degrees of Taurus is in your astrology chart. And that's where this full moon is illuminating an area of life for you. So what a great full moon. I am actually in love with this month of November. I hope it brings about many wonderful developments and progress for you. And know that if something's been delayed or you felt it was denied, the universe doesn't hold back what is truly you or yours or what you've created or what you've developed. It just can be put on a different timeline. And then it shows up and connects and you're like, oh, wow, that was totally worth the wait. It was even better. So that's part of November, is that things are connecting and coming through because you've done a lot of work and you've understood that there's a timeline that has to unfold, and then things can connect. So I hope this video has given you some great insights about this Taurus full moon on November 12th, 2019. And I'll be back with our Sagittarius new moon that's occurring on November 26th. So thanks for joining me, and I'll see you soon.